the sharing of the resources of the world. There are many, many places in the world that food is not enough to sustain people. I lived in Lima, Peru for many years. Women there would have debates on, at nighttime, they wouldn't eat because they give the food to their children. So they would eat their noon meal and would eat nothing until the next day. So in the clinic where I worked, I overheard a conversation of women saying, well, I just tighten my belt and it makes me feel fuller. And one woman said, I drink a little water. And then one woman said, I don't drink any water, just nothing. They were discussing how to stay feeling artificially full to get through the night. And I was just stunned. I was just stunned. The amount of resources that is used to promote killing, the amount of resources used for the forces of destruction could be just converted, just turned and gone a different way to construct a new world for humanity. It wouldn't take much, and there really wouldn't be a great sacrifice except for the super rich. And the super rich, really, we all know, have enough. So what we need to be doing is making sure that everyone has enough. And that's the priorities of Maitreya, that every man, woman, and child on earth has enough to eat. That every man, woman, and child on earth has a place to sleep that's protected and has a means for education. In that way, if we're fed and housed and educated, we can be who we were born to be. Every human being is a piece of God. Every human being is a flower in the garden. Every human being is a note in the symphony. And if we're fed, and if we're watered, and if we're housed and educated, we can be that so that the world will be a masterpiece. And the masters are here to give us the inspiration to become masterpieces. This is the hand of Maitreya, the master of the masters. And I think humanity might think the return of the Christ should be, Christ will come and make everything better. But in reality, Christ will come to allow us to make everything better. And when it comes from the human family, it will then last forever. And therein lies my hope. Therein lies my hope. And I think the hope for the world.
Something that Maitreya has forecast will happen is a worldwide stock market crash, beginning in Japan and having a domino effect so that it affects all the different countries around the world. The previous forecasts Maitreya has made have come true, and at the time no one would have thought they would have. Just to give you a few examples, the breaking down of the Berlin Wall, which has ended up with the the reunification of East and West Germany. This happened, it was like miraculous when it happened. It just, this spontaneous uprising of the people when the wall was broken down. And then we've got the ending of the Cold War between Russia and the US. Again, no one at the time, when Maitreya made this prediction some years before it happened, would have thought it would have occurred. The freeing of Nelson Mandela, the ending of apartheid, this is something else that Maitreya forecast. It happened again at a time when people would not have, it would not have crossed their mind that something like this could have happened, and that is certainly very miraculous. We have a coming together of the people in South Africa that, when the forecast was made, would not have been expected. So these forecasts, to me, have made it even more convincing that the ones that have yet to happen will also come true.
This evidence consists of forecasts of the future, predictions made starting in 1988, which, amazingly, included not only unpredictable events, such as major earthquakes, but also the most dramatic, unexpected shifts in political power since the Second World War. Unlike the often generalized predictions of psychics, these forecasts specified the nature of each event, the country in which it was to occur, and, if major political figures were involved, identified them by name. The predictions were published in Share International magazine and sent to news media starting in 1988. The source of these forecasts, Mr. Krem says, is Maitreya himself, who, through his profound understanding of the law of cause and effect, can see the consequences of human actions long before we see them.
He forecast several earthquakes that that happened. And I mean, people can't do that. No human can forecast earthquakes. Scientifically, they're still trying to, but. And also he said that whenever there's an underground nuclear explosion, there would be an earthquake somewhere in the world. And I don't know if anyone's done any statistical analysis, but I know you can find a direct correlation statistically between.
Yeah, I think every time there's been a nuclear test, there's been an earthquake shortly thereafter.
Within a week or two.
Ever since it was published that Maitreya had described that. And that's really quite amazing.
Yep.
If 20 years ago, a person looked at South Africa and you thought about the horrible apartheid that had been in existence there for so long, and then in 1988, when Maitreya forecast that situation would end, and it was not long after that Nelson Mandela was released from prison, and look at him today, he's the president of the country. And there's no longer apartheid, but people's rights are more equitable in that society. So that was a wonderful thing that happened.
Probably the most important prediction that Maitreya made or forecast was the stock market exchange crash he said would begin in Japan. And of course, anybody who picks up a newspaper today will find that to be true. There's article after article after article